Welcome back to SportsVibe. We've got myself, Arnav Sarkar. We got Rupayan, Samantha. He goes by Abs. My editor from Sports Radio America here with us. We got, of course, Jitesh, Kapil. We got the full gang. So college football, we haven't really been keeping up week to week like we have with the NFL recaps, but a lot's gone on in the first 4 weeks of the season. I think we kind of just have to talk about it, and we're also going to touch on the MLB wildcard playoff races. We enter the final days of the regular season. We kind of know which teams are in and out, with a few exceptions, but the playoff races are starting to shape themselves. So, yeah, I mean, first of all, I guess we could start with college. A lot of things have been going on. I mean, I kind of wanted to start with Rutgers. Impressive start, 3-1. They dominated Northwestern, Temple, Virginia Tech off to a 3-0 start. Their style of play has been very impressive. The defense, they're running the ball, controlling the clock. Passing game's improved, which I'm a little surprised by, but Wimstead's improved a lot. Receivers have been pretty solid. Now against Michigan, that didn't really seem to matter. I think Blake Corum had a quote where he said we bully the bullies because they played the exact same way Rutgers has been playing, control the clock, dominating. They got a Rutgers had a 4th and 2 in Michigan territory, couldn't convert. Sanders still picked him off, and I still have PTSD because I also like the Buckeyes. And basically, that play kind of shifted the balance where it was like Michigan was going to just win that game against Ohio State. Donovan Edwards ran into the house. Anyway, back to the Scarlet Knights here. Sanders still also picked that one off, ran that one to the house. Rutgers couldn't really compete, but they made it
hmm
a game for like a half and really into the third quarter. They were down 7-17. Had a
hmm
chance to make it a one-score game. Still an impressive start. I don't think anyone was expecting Rutgers to really win this game, although they've come close a few times in the past few years for one reason or another. But this year, not quite the case. With that being said, I think there's a lot of things to take away if you're a Rutgers fan, positive things. The schedule shapes out very favorably as well. They got Wagner next week, FCS team, shown some improvement, but it's just not going to be nearly enough. And of course, Michigan State, they've been in turmoil. Obviously, they had to fire Coach Mel Tucker. Their team is just not, they haven't even really been showing up. They've just not been competitive. I mean, just double-digit losses to Maryland, got blown out by Washington. They just don't even look like they want to be there. And I think that's a good thing for Rutgers. Having them on homecoming, it was already in the schedule as a possible win. Now it looks good. Indiana, they barely beat Akron. Took 4 overtimes. Akron's an abysmal team. They barely beat an FCS school. They lost to Temple, who Rutgers comfortably handled, and Rutgers already has a dominant streak over Indiana. So this year might not even be all that close. Now that being said, you can never underestimate any team in the Big Ten, especially it's a tough conference. Even the worst teams can, we saw with Rutgers, like how, their performance against Michigan. You can't underestimate teams in this league. You can't really underestimate any teams, certainly not in the Big Ten and the Power Five conference. So there's no, I mean, they're not guaranteed wins, but I still feel pretty good about Rutgers' chances of getting six. Wisconsin, an interesting team. I mean, I think they lost some Ches Lucy, one of their top running backs. They were trying to play air raid. They dominated Purdue team, who's not as good this year. I think Rutgers is still the underdog here, but I think they do have a chance. It's going to be interesting. Iowa, another team that really struggled in the whiteout against Penn State. Um, they put up 0 points. The offense has been terrible. The defense still, I guess, pretty good against most opponents. Penn State's, we might talk about that later. They look pretty good, but I think it might be a winnable game for Rutgers because their offense has also been improved. Not saying they will win, possibility. Maryland possibility. I think Maryland's a step above though. That one's gonna be tough. And then yeah, Ohio State, Penn State still look good. I think Ohio State really solved whatever they were going through. I think a statement victory against Notre Dame, getting it, running the ball in at the final second. Ryan Day, the
Yes,
whole thing with
and I do
Lou Holtz.
yeah
Yeah,
and
you go ahead. Yeah.
yeah I think Ohio State, they are not the team they were last year. Of course, no college football team really kind of is. But
Yeah.
I will say this: they are gritty. They still have a good receiving core, though Marvin Harrison's injury does kind of scare me. It didn't seem that bad,
Didn't. I think he
but
came back, right, in the
he did
game.
come back. That's not the point. The point is, injuries last year, now this year, kind of have to be a little bit careful. I mean, like, sure, I know he's okay, but like, you can't have an injury scare like that later on. I mean, I know he's all right, but this Ohio State team, I think of the word grit. they had a 3rd and 19, they had, they converted that. They had, they couldn't, one thing I will hold against them though is like some of the play calling, especially,
Yeah, I don't know why they went for a
the
jet sweep on the fourth down.
yeah,
I'm
that
glad they
was
were able
problem.
to. It didn't cost
Yeah.
them the game. It very well could have, though. So
Yes,
that's
I
one
think
thing to
so.
worry about.
I think the play calling on both sides really. I mean, I don't know why Notre Dame called
Yeah,
for,
they didn't
passing,
put they didn't put another man on the field in the final
no,
couple
no,
plays.
that's not play calling. I'm talking about play calling issue.
Oh, like their play
No,
calling? Yeah, I don't
yes,
know.
I mean, like, what is it? It's out, it's in the, 2 minute, it's in the 2 minute situation, and you call passes. That's not exactly good, especially considering the first, both of them were, you know, incomplete, and
Right.
JT,
Yeah, stopping the clock. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think the Penn State fans, saw JT Tuimoloau,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yep. Yep.
he was very close to a
Very
pick
good.
six.
Yeah.
He was very close
Yeah.
to
Very.
he just dropped it. If he picks that, if
Yeah. He almost
he
had his
pitches it,
hands on that
it's
one.
a
I mean, he almost. Yeah.
that was a pick six. He dropped it.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely, sold on Kyle McCord yet. I think he seems good. He seems good, but I'm not sure if he's like, like one of those top tier quarterbacks, like,
Yeah. I'm still not 100%
Penix
sold
or May.
on him either.
He does have Harrison, so it looks like his
Right.
receiver core is kind of carrying him, but nobody will disagree that he made some big time throws when he kind
He
of needed
did.
to.
Yeah.
And Ryan Day, he kind of atoned for his earlier play call. Notre Dame though, you kind of screwed it up.
I
Sure
know.
you
They
had him,
had Ohio State with their backs against the wall and they couldn't
yeah.
finish.
Obviously, passing twice. They also missed a field goal. Um,
Hmm.
Other than that, their defense played, pretty good. I will
Yeah.
say that their offense, needs to step it up a little bit if they want to be, seen in the next level. Other than that, you kind of can't have 10 men on the field when the game is on the
I
line.
know.
That was the most
Yeah.
inexcusable
And the two
part
plays in
of
a
the
row. I
night.
mean, like take the penalty, but get your guys on the field. I mean, you have
Hmm
to. Like they're like
I mean,
obviously
like
they're gonna run the ball there. I
the
mean,
I mean
problem
that
is that
that's something you expect the Jets to do.
yeah, and the problem is, um, that made the difference in the game. And we've been stopping him on a third and short all night. And you just like, you know, even with this, right? Like, if you've been stopping him and you just didn't see the 11th man on the field, that was completely stupid. You know, that's just inexcusable
yeah, no, it really
overall.
is. Yeah.
Mhm. Let's talk
Yeah.
about now let's talk about Oregon, which absolutely kind
Ooh,
of
or yeah, because I think Colorado
Colorado
definitely
out
needs to
of the
be talked
water.
about as well.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, Colorado, they'll get back on their track, but they kind of missed Travis Hunter, I'll say that. But and
Yeah.
I don't think this Colorado team is ready to compete just yet. But
Yeah. I think
I
they
think
got
they
exposed.
yeah. Oregon, I mean, like,
Um, I
they
mean,
did,
regardless
yeah.
though, Deion Sanders has done like quite a significant job with
He
Colorado.
Oh
I mean,
has,
yeah.
I
I
agree.
don't think
last
anyone's gonna deny that. I mean,
last year they were
yeah.
one of the most pathetic college football teams.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They
and
barely
this
won
year,
one game.
I mean,
They already have three this year.
sure, you got blown out 42-6, but I mean, hey, every team has one of these losses. Like
Hmm
it's all about how you rebound from it. And
True.
But the problem
Deion
is,
Sanders has been an inspiration to
yeah,
the team.
I
So
mean, yeah, the problem is,
Definitely.
you have so much hype, and then you just lay a complete egg on, national television.
Yeah.
Obviously, not the
kind of
best
like the
look.
Los Angeles Angels with Shohei and
Yeah.
Mike Trout,
hmm
consistently wasting their talents.
Yeah. And I will say, and yeah, uh, Colorado, they're going to get back. They have USC this weekend. After this game, I don't expect that to be you know, much of a matchup, but you never know. It's in Boulder, so we could see.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think another team that another game that was pretty, another quarterback that's really good, Michael Penix. I think
Washington looks really good this
he's
year.
very underrated. I am not sure why he's not being talked about more,
Hmm.
and he should definitely probably be a top five pick next year, with the way he's playing. So, he needs to get a lot of attention like yesterday. I'll say that. Um, Other than that, let's talk a little bit about SEC football.
Mm-hmm.
LSU with a thriller against Arkansas that, didn't need to be that close.
Right.
If you want to take that next step, your defense has to play better. Your offense was able to, move when, your offense was able to move the ball really well. That was good. Um, Arkansas, your coach is kind of defensive minded, so giving up 34 probably wasn't the best idea. It doesn't look good. Alabama, Ole Miss. I was very happy, but just a sloppy first start. A lot of play calling issues. No, I mean, like, even if you're playing Madden, nobody goes in shotgun at the one. You go under center, you either run a
Right.
sneak or you just give it to your back. You block well, you get a touchdown. Other than that, I think Milrow looked good in the second half, especially. His first half numbers, not good. I do want to see the tight ends get involved a lot more. Um, he just needs to, push the ball. He has that arm. That is the best thing about him. That
Mm-hmm.
arm is great. So kind of use it instead of, expecting him to throw, short, over the middle passes where, those linebackers and safeties are waiting to make a play on it. He doesn't see those a lot of the times. That's what led to the Texas loss. So if you have an arm, you're stupid for not using it. So I'll just tell
Mm.
that to Tommy Reese. You should
Yeah.
have, like, for example, right? I saw a story like, Alabama receivers last year, a few years back, Smith, Ruggs, Waddle, Judy, they
Right.
played rock, paper, scissors on who would get the deep route. You
Ooh.
kind of should, yeah, you kind of should have a guy running a deep route on every play because how powerful Milrow's arm is.
Mm-hmm.
He can't hit those deep balls if he wants to.
Right.
So that opens up the playbook. If you have a guy streaking, 20, 30 yard, 40 yards down the field, that opens things up 10, 15 yards. I think the play calling needs to, recognize that. The run game was good. Um, Good win. Ole Miss, their quarterback situation, they have three college football starters, but, put up a grand total of 10 points. Not very good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, they played Austin Peay, so that I'm just
Right.
not concerned about them.
Yeah. It's
I don't think South Carolina, Mississippi State, though, that was a pretty good game, I think. Mississippi State, um, I think Zach Arnett, he should not have been named the head coach. I think it was just like, the team's camaraderie that named him, the head coach. If I would have Mississippi State, I would have looked at some other candidates before, choosing him. But yeah, he doesn't seem like a college football head coach yet. Bama does come to town. If he
mm-hmm.
can beat them, something that hasn't been done in quite a while,
Right.
I'll change my mind. But other than that, I just don't like, he doesn't seem qualified yet. Maybe he needs a few years with, a lesser team, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Some
um,
build up.
yeah, South Carolina looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Other than that, there weren't that, many big games this
Right.
weekend.
Yeah. I feel like we covered most
Yeah,
of the big
yeah.
ones.
That's about it.
Washington State knocked off Oregon State 38-35. Another big one. Florida State beat Clemson. They're still undefeated on the
Oh yeah, I
season.
forgot about that game. Good
That was a
game.
crazy one. Went
Call it,
overtime.
yeah, college kickers, obviously.
Oh my goodness. They
Um,
both missed
you
field
know,
goals.
Also,
Crazy.
Cade Klubnik, he's progressing okay. He's,
Right.
he can be a good quarterback. He just, did not see that blitzer that led to a fumble and a touchdown. So,
Yeah.
he has a while to get it together, but not too long.
Yeah.
He didn't play well against Duke. He kind of should. They should probably accelerate the development, being from such a prestigious school known for developing high level
Right.
talent.
Clemson,
So,
yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. I guess another SEC team that I think is pretty interesting is Missouri. They're ranked 23. They're undefeated. They beat Memphis, a good Memphis team. They beat Kansas State, a 61-yard field goal. Defending Big 12 champion. So, I don't know. I think they could at least go bowling. I don't think they're real contenders for anything, but they got Vanderbilt coming up. That should be a win for them. I think they can get one more at least. They have to at this point. Like you can't just, you know what I mean? Like go 4-0 and then just 5-0 and then collapsed. Like, I mean, I think they might have something to say. I mean, not certainly not like one of the best SEC teams, but it's an
Mhm.
improvement. They're on the
Yeah.
upswing. Vandy's looked a little disappointing going 2-2, losing to UNLV. A little bit. Obviously, they're probably one of the worst teams in the SEC, but I thought they were on the right track. Not so
Hmm.
sure now. SEC's play is
Yeah.
going to be tough for them. I
Hmm.
guess before we shift over to the MLB, if you'd be able to kind of touch on like the first 4 weeks of the Bama season, because it feels like it's just been like a roller coaster. Like obviously a big win over Middle Tennessee State, then the loss to Texas, and then the South Florida game was just like what are you guys doing? Like Buckner didn't look good, and then seems like a
Hmm.
little bit of a rebound with Milrow.
I
I feel like
think
he's the
I'll tell
guy in
you
the win over
this.
Ole
I
Miss.
I
Yeah, go
think,
ahead.
um, I think you have to go back to 2016 to kind of, look at, what you're doing. So Jalen Milrow and Jalen Hurts coming into Alabama, they both have kind of similar characteristics. They're both kind of run first quarterbacks that have an arm that can make some throws. So I think you have to kind of work with, you kind of have to work with him like you were, like Lane Kiffin worked with Jalen Hurts. You know, get him on the move. I think Milrow, he can make a lot of plays when he needs to. But Texas carved him up pretty well. I'm scared of what Georgia will do, though I'm not impressed by Georgia that much this year.
Yeah, they've been a little shaky. Like the
Yeah.
South Carolina game has been a
I
good
will say
indication.
that, there were two or three, 4 or 5 star quarterbacks on the Alabama depth chart. We know Buckner's not going to see the field again in an Alabama
Yeah,
uniform. We know that. I
right.
think, Simpson, Lonergan, Holstein, they need to
Hmm.
get a lot more playing time, like right now, because there are some, you'll need to keep your options when, December comes around. I mean, like Georgia, obviously, if Milrow can't get through his first, can't take his eyes off his first read, Georgia is going to be feasting like a hungry
Yeah,
guy, like a hungry
Ducks.
guy on,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Georgia's going to be feasting like a hungry guy on Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I think Alabama, though, they're moving in the right direction. Their defense played really, really, really well. I'll say that. Their offense, was very inconsistent. If we can like, you shouldn't go like run, run, pass, because that's what it kind of feels like a lot now. You should kind of, I think you need to expand your playbook, kind of spice it up a little bit. A lot more quarterback designed runs. We only saw a few of those. A lot of get Miller out of the pocket. He seems to be okay out of the pocket. But like he doesn't need to throw the ball 40 yards downfield. But you can, he made some good throws. He's progressing nicely, and I love to see that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they're kind of on the right track. The Ole Miss game looked
Also, I will say
inspiring.
this. I will say this. Our defensive line is not looking, that good. I mean, like, sure, they played really well, but we didn't see any of that against Texas, and we just haven't looked. I mean, like, you go back to the 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 Alabama teams, that had great defensive linemen up front. This team is not, anywhere like the D line on this team is not comparable to that team, to any of those teams. So meant like that was Georgia's strategy these past 2 years, right? Let the front four go to work.
Mm,
So the secondary, because Georgia's secondary was not good when they won those championships, right? It was just their front, four, front seven that was completely feasting. Meant like they gave up 500 yards to LSU, got, pushed to the brink versus Ohio State. So I
right.
think the Georgia secondary is a lot overrated. You know, they're not that good, especially when the front, four can't get home. We saw that in the playoff. We saw that against Alabama a few years back. So, you know, I I don't know, Georgia, they have an easy schedule,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. They'll have a tough one
Coasting.
next they'll have a
Yeah.
tough one next year. That
Yep.
matchup
Yep. Yep.
in yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that matchup
Bama,
in Neyland.
Texas, Clemson. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
be a lot of
I'm
tough
looking
games.
I'm looking forward to that matchup in Neyland, Georgia and
Ooh,
Tennessee.
that's gonna be a good one. Yeah,
It's gonna be a good
definitely.
one. Yeah.
Their toughest game of the year.
But I think good days are ahead for this Bama team. You have Mississippi
Yeah,
State. Yeah,
I think so.
You have Mississippi State who isn't like they're not a top team. They're an okay team. We'll see
Yeah,
how
they're
that
they're
goes.
all right.
We
Yeah.
should expect like a 15, 20 point win, which I would definitely love to take.
Mm-hmm.
Um, We have Tennessee upcoming next month. We have LSU upcoming next month, the
Hmm.
month after. So
Right.
still have
Some
some
big
time
games there,
to get
some
everything
revenge
together.
games. Yeah.
Right. All
Cool.
right. That's about college football. So Jitesh, do you want to talk about the MLB?
All right. So now we're well, really it started 3 weeks ago. We're in the Hunger Games stage of the MLB wildcard race where it's a giant bloodbath. And frankly, aside from postseason baseball, this is the most exciting time for baseball and maybe opening weekend. So it's a big day for one of our favorite Philadelphia fans over here.
Hmm.
Your Phillies for the second year in a row have clinched a wild card spot, and we all know what Philadelphia did the last time they clinched a wild card spot. But this time, the road there may not be that easy
Yeah.
because you know
Hmm.
Atlanta is just a powerhouse. The Dodgers, unfortunately, are a cockroach that refuse to die,
Yeah.
and Milwaukee has been one of the most underrated teams in the league this year, and they've been playing damn good, like really sneaky good. Uh, like sure they're on a current losing streak right now, but I would not really bet against Milwaukee. As mentioned before, Philadelphia is clinched, so
Hmm.
the wild card race, as of right now, 2 and 3 seeds sit at Arizona and the Cubs. Of course, the Marlins are still in the race. Cincinnati, San Francisco, and San Diego are still technically in the race, although I expect them to be eliminated very soon. And if they somehow stave off elimination and make the wild card, I don't know what to say there. But going to the AL really quickly, um, it's a battle of contention for AL East supremacy. Baltimore and Tampa Bay are just clashing heads right now. Baltimore currently is above the rankings in terms of that, and the AL Central, perhaps the most pathetic division of um, of of this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
The Twins won this division by default. Like, come on, like this is the most pathetic division in baseball. Like, Cleveland never stood a chance. Chicago White Sox, give me a break. Like, come on, Chicago White Sox. They were, I'd argue, they're the most disappointing team in the league this year. Of course, they have contenders for that title, such as the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles
Yeah.
Angels,
Rough.
and yeah, I'd say, and of course San Diego. So like
Yeah.
definitely contenders for such an honorary title. And I guess speaking of disappointments, especially in the last part of the season where it really matters, what the hell is going on with the AL West? Like Houston, only 3 weeks ago, they just bashed the Rangers' brains in, and
Hmm.
like completely took their soul in Globe Life Field. And now Texas actually is leading the AL West with Houston.
Two
Houston still
games back.
technically in the
Yeah.
wild card race, but they're at the third wild card spot right now. Like we would have thought this. Like we thought. I mean, of course, the path to repeating is never easy, but I did not expect Houston to fall off so badly like this. I mean, back to back series losses against the Athletics and the Royals, two of the worst teams in the league. Houston, you seriously got to get your stuff together if you're serious about winning another World Series. And of course, talking about that bloodbath, it's still technically a three-way race for AL West supremacy. The Rangers, the Astros, and Seattle Mariners are still battling.
Hmm.
I mean, uh, really, I think the only one that stands a chance to win the division, like, are Texas and Houston. I don't think Seattle has that in them, but
Hmm.
one of those teams, and what's really unfortunate is that Texas, Houston, Seattle, one of those teams kind of has to miss the playoffs
Yeah.
unless the Blue Jays have a massive choke job, and I don't think the Blue Jays will let that happen because like in the last 10 games they've been pretty red hot. I believe they're 7-3. Um,
Yeah. They are. Yeah.
yeah, so I think asking the Blue Jays to choke is a bit out of the question. So Houston, Seattle, that's going to be a bloodbath. I don't know if Houston can reclaim the division now, especially with their uh, their their skid. And Texas has won a division because the other two teams refused to. Like Texas was dead in the water
Yeah,
and somehow
they
they're
really
back.
were.
Somehow they're back alive. Like, I don't know how, but hey, it's playoff baseball. Those things happen, and I mean, of course, like, of course, when everything's said and done, I, I mean, that's when the real fun starts for playoff baseball. I mean, he personally, like, depending on how things line up, I'd still love to see a battle of Texas for the AL for the rights to go to the World Series. Like, I think Houston
That'd be
versus
cool.
yeah, I think a Houston versus Texas, well, Arlington, um, would be an incredible matchup, not only for baseball fans and Texas fans, but I think it'd really showcase like two organizations that are built differently, how they've like climbed their way up the ladder. And, Texas is doing this without Jacob DeGrom. Like you paid an awful lot of money for him, and unfortunately, he has Tommy John surgery. He's not pitching until next year if he's lucky. And and the Rangers have somehow been able to stay afloat. So I think that'd be really interesting. Like that is an ALCS matchup. And I think other interesting matchups would be like Baltimore versus Texas, or even
Yeah,
Baltimore versus
Baltimore,
or even Baltimore
Tampa.
versus Tampa Bay. Like that would be really
Mm-hmm.
interesting for Reds to go to the World Series. I mean, of course, the one team I'm not talking about is Minnesota because they're useless, like all Minnesota sports teams. Uh, they're frankly all a waste of oxygen, and they're not worth talking about.
Yeah,
But I will say this: Baltimore is, has been a really, really, really good team, and I'm excited to see what they're gonna do. Tampa Bay obviously they had that huge start. It's kind of been,
Yeah,
rough for
yeah,
them
they
since.
won on a 13-0 start,
Yeah,
and
I mean, like that seems like past history though, because they've been in kind of rough waters. But I'm excited to see that. And everybody thought they were gonna win the World Series as
but
usual, but
let's not also forget, like Tampa Bay, like I'd argue they have the best pitching development out of all teams in the MLB, but they're also the team with the most elbow injuries amongst their pitchers. Like, and
yeah.
somehow I don't think that's coincidental. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, like Tampa Bay is really great at developing pitchers, but they're really horrible at keeping their pitchers healthy. So something's got to change there if you and like this is a very talented, not only just a small ball team, but this has World Series talent written all over it. It's been that way since 2019, effectively, when they had a duel with the Astros that lasted 5 games in the ALDS, and they unfortunately lost that. But actually, like considering that Arnav's an AL East fan of the Yankees, I imagine he didn't feel too sorry about Tampa Bay losing that one. But
right.
Mhm.
yeah, but I like I think that frankly I think the AL is a lot more exciting this year than the NL. I mean, like I mean,
Yeah, I think so too, honestly.
yeah, I mean, like of course everyone is expecting Braves Dodgers as an NLCS, and of course, if that were to be the case, I will gladly root for the Braves. I hate the Dodgers with the burning passion.
Mm.
But I would love to see honestly, I'd love to see a rematch of the 2018 NLCS Dodgers versus the Brewers. Like, I think that'd be fascinating. And of
Yeah,
course,
it would.
and
I
of
think.
course,
Hmm.
another battle of the end of the East for the rights to go to the World Series. Philadelphia, Atlanta, that could
Ooh.
have some firepower. But of course,
Hmm.
like Atlanta has superior pitching,
Yeah,
but Philadelphia, the best way I could describe the Phillies is that they're a pest. It's pretty hard
they're
to
not
put
gonna
them
go
away.
away. Yep. I think
And
that brings us to like a good place where we could do maybe like some World Series predictions now as we like get ready for the playoffs
I,
and the stretch
I,
run.
I say let's wait for everything to be finalized. So probably next week.
All
Mhm.
right, next week. All right.
Yeah, but I mean,
Sounds good.
talking about the world really quickly. One last thing to wrap up: International Cricket Cup.
When,
Yes.
yeah, when does that start? November?
Uh,
No, it's
no,
October 5th.
it starts like next week or 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they're
That's
just playing a
exciting.
group. They're playing group stage matchups right now.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. That's awesome. Yeah, that's something that I definitely would want to keep tabs on, especially,
Yeah,
it's back in over in the motherland in India. It's going to be very
yeah.
exciting.
The
A lot
only
of great
problem is
teams.
all the games are like
Yeah,
4:30 local time. So it's like
yeah, I
uh,
see that
I mean, unless if you plan on like
in the
drinking
morning.
like five
Yeah.
gallons of coffee every day. Like, I don't know how you'll
Yeah,
be
it's
able to
like
watch
kind of
that.
like when the World Cup was going on, right? I don't know if you guys watched the Women's World Cup, those games. Well, some of them were like in like night here, and then some were in the morning. And I was like, forget it. But yeah, something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch some of that, some highlights or something at least. But cricket's, it's always very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the unpopular opinion that it's more exciting than baseball, but
That's just gonna be the what do you prefer, cricket or baseball?
Cricket, all the way. My favorite
cricket.
sport. I'm gonna say baseball over any day.
I meant we're all Indians, so I kind of guess we all prefer cricket.
I mean,
And I
maybe
agree.
I'm the minority in this case because I think I might like baseball a little more. I mean, I'm not saying I hate cricket. I love cricket, but I don't know. I guess probably because I was more
Mhm.
exposed to baseball, that's why I like it more. Although
Mhm.
I do remember like I forget what time the game kicked off in 2011 where
Mhm.
India's final against Sri Lanka. I remember my dad and all of his friends, they just like stayed up together just watching the game.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
And
I did. Our family, like, yeah, we did the same thing. We were at someone's
yeah,
house. We had like an
and then of course
all-nighter. It was a
and
crazy, crazy
then of
time.
course like the famous call like and the party's gonna start in Mumbai, something like that. I if I remember correctly, like I think all my dad's friends, including my dad, they
Mhm.
took the day off of work that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You said you wanted to do World Series predictions. Everybody, Jitesh, why don't you start off real quickly? Just say two teams
Hmm.
and who's gonna win.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be a very unconventional matchup, but hey, I love unpredictability. I'm gonna go with Baltimore Milwaukee, and I'll take Baltimore in five.
Ooh,
What
yeah, I
what are
like that.
y'all's
That's
Okay.
picks?
well
Okay.
unconventional. Um, I don't really want to get a bet against the Orioles. Yeah, I think I'll go Orioles,
Wait,
Braves, but then the
what
Braves
what's
win
this? A
since they just
Yankees
look
fan
really good.
supporting the Orioles?
I don't
Whoa.
know. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Arnav,
okay.
your allegiance might be in question now.
Mhm.
It's all right. Yeah, it's still better than
Ooh,
like the Rays or the
I
Red
mean,
Sox.
obviously it's gonna be the Braves, right? So I think, Braves over Rangers or Braves over Orioles, or if they somehow get their postseason magic back, Braves over Astros.
Oh, a
Yeah,
rematch of
that could definitely
2021.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, the Astros, they just somehow,
If they
come
could
to
get
life in
their
the
mojo
postseason.
back. Yeah, and they
Well,
have
I think
experience.
Arnav would definitely be rooting for the Astros' demise. I think he would be.
Definitely. And Abs, if you'd like to
And
finish us off,
I
please.
wonder what the Philadelphia fan will say.
Okay, so the heart wants Philadelphia against Baltimore, and I'd say Philadelphia in seven because I mean I'm not giving our. I obviously I'm a homer, but I'm gonna be realistic and say that if we do somehow make it back into the World Series, it's not gonna be an easy fight. Baltimore is definitely one of the best teams this year.
Mhm.
But my brain is saying Texas is going to give Baltimore a run, and the Braves are going to beat the Dodgers. I mean, like you said, the Dodgers are a cockroach that won't go away, but the Braves just have superior talent, and they've been repeatedly showing that. I mean, I know it's sacrilegious coming from a Phillies fan. We hate the Braves, and actually, fun fact: I was in Georgia before, like so. I've suffered the hate of the Braves fans for being the only Philly fan there. So I know what it's like, but I can't not root for them because they're just so good. And this
Just
time,
remember
Sure.
though,
so much.
postseason
Yeah.
ball. Everyone